Sissy Spacek had everything. She has an Oscar, hit movies, and all of Hollywood at her feet. She quickly disappeared and was last seen on a farm in Virginia. People didn't understand why for years. At age 75, she is finally telling the truth. She kept quiet about a physical attack, a terrible loss in her family that changed her life forever, and the horrible truth about what happened at the actor's workshop. Even stranger is the fact that's not even half of what she's been hiding. Sissy Spacek was born in Quitman, Texas, on December 25, 1949. Her full name is Mary Elizabeth Spacek. Her father, Edwin, worked as a Czech-German farm salesman. In her family, Virginia, there were Irish and English people. Their family had lived in Texas for many years. In fact, her grandpa had been mayor of Granger. In this small town, there are a lot of Czech immigrants. The only person Sissy had in common with the entertainment business was her cousin Rip Torn, an actor who would later play a big role in her journey. Less than 2,000 people lived in Quitman, which was a very small town 90 miles east of Dallas. Kids used to climb trees, ride horses, and fish in the lakes nearby when they were young. Robbie and Ed Jr. called her Sissy, and she'll always go by that name. She loved being outside and riding her favorite horse, Buck, for hours on end. But she was also very interested in performance. She took part in a neighborhood talent show when she was only 6 years old. She knew she wanted to be on stage after that. She first wanted to be a singer. She even chose a name for her live show, Rainbow, but things didn't go as planned. Sissy was more than just a shy girl with art goals by the time she got to Quitman High School. There was something about her that made her stand out. People in her class loved her, and she was named Homecoming Queen her final year. She was in school plays and talent shows, and she never missed a matinee at the nearby movie house. Even though she loved living in a small town, she thought the world was moving faster than she was, and she wanted more. Things changed in 1967. Robert, her older brother, was only 18 years old when he was stricken with leukemia. He wasn't just a brother. He was her hero. He was a track star and always seemed sure of himself. Sissy looked up to him. His family went back and forth to Houston for months so he could get care. After that, he soon died. Sissy was heartbroken when he died. She later said it was the most important event in her life. It was too much for her to handle, but the sadness changed her. She thought that nothing could hurt her more than what she had been through. In conversations, she talked about how this loss helped her acting career so much. It made her brave. She was ready to take chances because of it. She said that once you've been through that, nothing else will scare you. 17 years ago, Sissy Spacek left her small Texas town of Quitman and went to New York City. She only wanted to become a singer. She got involved in the music scene while living with her cousin and his wife, actor Geraldine Page. She even gave herself the stage name Rainbow to make herself stand out. She made a parody single in 1968 called John, You've Gone Too Far This Time. The song made fun of John Lennon for being naked on the Two Virgins record cover with Yoko Ono. It was smart and brave. It didn't catch on, though. The song didn't do well, and her hopes of becoming a famous singer began to fade. She was still determined, so she played with a band called Moose and the Pelicans in the hopes of getting noticed. But nothing took off. In 1969, her record company dropped her. The event was terrible, but she didn't know at the time that it would make her life better in the long run. But her time in New York opened her eyes to a world she hadn't thought about before: performing. Rip Torn saw something good in her and told her to go after it. She went to the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute with his help. She worked as a model for photographers and did small shows in West Village clubs like the Bitter and to make money. Some nights, she made only $10. The job wasn't exciting, but kept her in touch with the movie and stage worlds. Torna was able to get auditions thanks to her contacts, and within a few months, she started getting small parts. Music and acting were not the same thing. It seemed like something she could really grow into. Besides acting, she was also getting to know a new side of herself. In 1972's Prime Cut, she had her first movie part, a movie about crime directed by Michael Ritchie. She played Poppy, a young girl who was being sold into sexual slavery, along with Lee Marvin and Gene Hackman, both well-known actors from Hollywood. She gave the part her all, even though it was scary and dark. Even though the movie didn't do very well at the box office, reviewers did praise her performance. Something real and raw about the way she played the part made her stand out. Then came Badlands in 1973, a movie that changed everything. Holly Sargis is a 15-year-old girl who runs away with her boyfriend Kit, played by Martin Sheen. She was cast by Terrence Malick, who was making his directing debut. The movie was based on the real-life killing spree of Starkweather Fugate in 1958, and Spacek's act showed a haunting mix of innocence and distance. Her soft, almost dreamlike voice gave the story an eerie quality. Something strange happened while they were shooting. She met Jack Fisk, who was in charge of the movie's art. They got along right away, but things really changed when they went on an exciting date. They were on a boat when there was a flash flood, and the boat sank. It really should have gone badly. It brought them together. They got married in 1974. In real life and in movies, they would work together for the rest of their lives. Many people really liked Badlands. It showed people how Malick tells stories in a very different way and made Spacek one of the most exciting new actresses in Hollywood. The part Sissy Spacek played in Carrie in 1976 changed her career for good. She played Carrie White, a shy girl who was picked on and had scary telekinetic abilities. She was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for the part, but it wasn't easy to get it. Before she agreed to be in the movie, director Brian De Palma had other women in mind. He liked Melanie Griffith and Betsy Slade a lot, but Spacek was determined to show that she was the best pick. Jack Fisk, her husband and the film's art director, told her in a way that no one would forget to try out. She wore an old sailor dress from when she was a child. She didn't wash her face or hair before she went. She looked just like De Palma's idea of a lonely, neglected figure. She got the part because of her promise. Spacek was 25 years old at the time. She was a lot older than the high school girl she played, but she was able to show how vulnerable Carrie was in a way that made her acting believable. She didn't just act like she didn't belong. She turned into one. She stayed in character even when she wasn't on camera. She didn't hang out with the group and spent most of her time by herself. She surrounded herself with holy art in her trailer, such as pictures from Gustav Dor's Bible, to understand how Carrie feels. She also read about real people who were stoned for treason to get a sense of the fear and shame her character felt. Even more, she gave it her all during the movie's most famous scene, the prom. It took 2 weeks to shoot this scene where Carrie is covered in pig's blood before she causes chaos. Some shots needed as many as 35 tries, but the blood dumping only needed 1 or 2. Spacek did something shocking because she wanted everything to feel real. Her outfit was still sticky from the Caro syrup and red food dye mix that she slept in for 3 days. It was even worse under the studio lights, but she wouldn't wash off. She thought that staying in the blood helped her feel what Carrie was feeling. That scene at the prom is one of the most memorable in the history of horror. Carrie snaps when the blood starts to fall. As the school burns, her telekinetic skills take over and trap everyone inside. The chaos is real and scary, and the act by Spacek makes it even stronger. Her husband actually poured the blood, which made it feel more personal. The scene came in at number 8 on Bravo's list of the 100 scariest movie moments. Another surprising thing about her preparation for Spacek was that she chose to put Vaseline in her hair while shooting. She meant to look as messy as possible. She didn't even brush her teeth or wash her face before going on stage. These small decisions had a big effect on her and helped her change into a girl who had been ignored and hated her whole life. After that, De Palma had no questions. White played by Spacek. A huge number of people saw the movie. It came out in 1976 and made $33.8 million, even though it only cost $1.8 million to make. There were good reviews, and even Stephen King, who wrote the 1974 novel, said he liked the movie more than his book. When Sissy Spacek won the Oscar for Coal Miner's Daughter in 1980, it wasn't just because she played a part. It was about becoming Loretta Lynn in every way. People still think that her role as the country music star is one of the best in Hollywood history. The amazing thing is how it all came together. Spacek wasn't sure she could do it first. She wasn't sure she could write about Lynn's life and speech in a way that made it seem real. Then something strange happened. It was Loretta Lynn herself who told everyone on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson that she wanted Sissy Spacek to play her. This wasn't meant to happen. Lynn's faith in Spacek changed everything, even though she hadn't agreed to the movie yet. It would be impossible for her to say no if the woman she was meant to play believed in her. She did more than just act when she got the part. It changed her. Lynn taught her how to speak with an Appalachian accent, how to walk, and even how to sing like Lynn. Spacek sang all of the songs in the movie herself, even the one about the coal miner's daughter. Lynn said it was the only way to make the movie truly real, even though it was a risky choice. That choice paid off. There was more to Spacek's win than just Best Actress. She was also nominated for a Grammy for Best Female Country Vocal Performance, which is very rare for an actor. The movie was a huge hit, nominated for 7 Academy Awards, and is now one of the most popular musical biopics ever. But something even more important happened that will last longer than the awards. Spacek and Lynn became friends for life and stayed close until Lynn's death in 2022. After meeting Lynn, Spacek said it was like seeing an old friend. This connection made Spacek's act even more meaningful. When she played coal miner's daughter, Spacek kept showing how flexible she was. Her role was Beth Horman in the 1982 movie Missing, a woman looking for her missing husband who disappeared during Chile's military coup in 1973. Based on a true story, the political thriller was intense and made me cry a lot. Spacek, who starred with Jack Lemmon, showed the pain and anger of someone who is fighting a broken system without giving up hope. She was nominated for another Oscar for Best Actress for her role. Then in 1984, The River came out. In this movie, she played May Garvey, a farmer who was having a hard time keeping her land during a bad economy. Like Gibson, Spacek played a mother who did everything she could to keep her family together with raw feeling. The movie showed how hard it was for American farmers in the 1980s and got her another Oscar nod. After 2 years, she did something totally different. Crimes of the Heart, which came out in 1986, was a dark comedy drama about 3 strange sisters who have to deal with their difficult pasts. After the daughter of coal miner, Spacek kept showing how flexible she was. In the 1982 movie Missing, she played Beth Horman, a woman who lost her husband during Chile's military coup in 1973 and is desperately looking for him. Based on a true story, the political thriller was intense and made me cry a lot. Spacek has worked with some of Hollywood's most innovative directors over the course of her career. In 1977, she played Pinky Rose in Robert Altman's 3 Women. Rose is a young, naive woman whose life becomes strangely connected to that of her roommate. The movie was mostly made up on the spot and was based on one of Altman's dreams. The Spacek's performance was scary, showing a change that kept people's attention. 3 Women became known as one of Altman's best movies years after it came out, even though it wasn't a big hit at the time. In 1991, she played Liz Garrison, the wife of Kevin Costner's character Jim Garrison, the DA of New Orleans in Oliver Stone's movie JFK. One of Stone's most controversial works, the movie looked into the ideas about who killed John F. Kennedy. When it came to the personal side of the story, Spacek really brought Costner's character to life. She played a woman who was torn between supporting her husband's research and keeping the family together. It was one of the hardest parts she's ever had when she played Night Mother in 1986. The play that inspired the movie won the Pulitzer Prize. It was about a woman named Jessie Cates who tells her mother gently that she's going to kill herself that very night. There were no big fight scenes or shocking turns in the story. The whole movie took place in one house as Jessie and her mother talked about how painful it was that Jessie had to make her choice. Jessie had epilepsy, a bad marriage, and a son who had grown apart from her for many years. She thought this was her only option. Spacek had never played a role like Jessie before. There were no angry outbursts or long talks. This made Jessie's pain feel even more real because it was quiet and seemed like any other pain. Tom Moore, the director, chose to shoot the movie in order from beginning to end so that the emotional weight could build up. This meant that Spacek and her co-star and Bancroft had to carry the weight of their character's grief every day on set, just like it would happen in real life. Spacek later said that going through that kind of sadness was hard. She couldn't just leave it behind when the shoot was over. The people who reviewed her performance said it was unsettling and deeply human. She never blew up Jessie's feelings or made her pain seem like a play. Instead, she played the part with a quiet realism that made the ending of the movie even more sad. But for Spacek, the event had a long effect. Everything that the part had made her feel was hard to get rid of. Even though Spacek showed what a great range she has as an actress, she still had to deal with one of Hollywood's biggest problems. There aren't enough important parts for older women. By the time she was in her 40s and 50s, she had fewer lead parts. The movie business has always been interested in young people, so they started giving her mostly small roles. She had a good name and had been nominated for 6 Academy Awards, but she wasn't getting the roles that used to come easy. She didn't fade into the background, though. She changed. In independent movies and on TV, she could still find people with a lot of depth. In the 2001 movie, In the Bedroom, she played a mother who is grieving over the death of her son and has a hard time dealing with it. Another Oscar nomination came her way for the part, which showed that she was still one of the best actors of her time. In later years, she played complicated parts on TV shows like Bloodline, 2015 to 2017, and Castle Rock, 2018, which showed how she could give any character a quiet intensity. She also kept working in movies, which let her be artistic. In 2018, she co-starred with Robert Redford in The Old Man and the Gun, which showed why she had been such a captivating film presence for so many years. By focusing on independent projects and TV, she not only kept her career going, but she also helped change Hollywood's old view that women over 40 were not good enough to be leading ladies. When you think about how she helped shape some of the most famous movie roles, Spacek was always surprisingly humble. She often didn't believe in her own skills, even though she won an Oscar for Coal Miner's Daughter in 1980 and was nominated for 6 more. She played down her fame in interviews by calling herself a one-trick pony and saying she had never been properly trained. Before she became an actress, she had only been at Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute for a few months. She also never really felt like she had learned the usual ways of acting. Sissy Spacek has never been the type of actress who just plays parts. She picks projects and stories that have meaning, that make you think, or that have an effect that lasts. In 1996, If These Walls Could Talk was one of the most powerful shows of this. 3 different stories from 1952, 1974, and 1996 were used in the HBO movie to talk about abortion. Each section showed how people's views on reproductive rights have changed over time and how hard it can be for women to make decisions about these rights. In a 1974 episode, Spacek played Barbara Barrows, a mother of 4 who gets pregnant out of the blue while trying to go to school. The choice itself wasn't the only thing that made her character fight. Everything that came with it did too. Women were put under a lot of pressure by society, their families, and their own dreams. For Spacek, it was more than just another movie. It was a very deep part. As a young woman who had also thought about these things, she later said that the story hit home for her. There was no denying the effect. At the time, it was HBO's highest-rated movie. It was nominated for 4 Evening Emmys and 3 Golden Globes. It was more than just a major hit. It started a conversation that brought the realities of reproductive rights into the public. The movie is still important because people are still arguing about it, showing that stories have the power to make a difference. But Spacek has more of an impact than just lobbying. Many actors have been moved by her, both by the roles she plays and by the way she approaches her work. She talks about how important it is to trust yourself and not try to fit into Hollywood's expectations in her autobiography, My Extraordinary Ordinary Life. This is advice she has taken to heart throughout her work. She didn't follow trends. Instead, she focused on parts that felt real. Her big break came when she played Carrie White in the 1976 movie Carrie. She made the character vulnerable and scary at the same time, which is what made the movie a classic in the horror genre. In 1980, 4 years later, she played the legendary country music singer Loretta Lynn in the movie Coal Miner's Daughter. She not only played parts in the movie, but she also sang all the songs herself, which earned her an Oscar for Best Actress. Not only were these jobs great, they showed how committed she was to being real, which is something that younger actors still respect. Spacek kept changing herself even after decades in the business. From 2015 to 2017, she played Sally Rayburn in Bloodline, the head of a family with some dark secrets. She was able to explore difficult themes like guilt and loyalty in the Netflix show, and her acting was praised by many. Her next role was in Night Sky, a sci-fi thriller set in 2022 about an old couple who find a strange room under their house. While the show was only on for 1 season, reviewers said she played the part with a lot of emotional depth. These roles showed that she could bring something special to any type of movie. Even with all of this, Spacek has never really lived the Hollywood way. Jack Fisk and Sissy Spacek met on the set of Badlands in 1973 and fell in love. She played the lead role. He was in charge of making the movie. They were together for long periods of time, and their bond got stronger every day. After a year, on April 12, 1974, in Santa Monica, California, they got married in a small wedding. There's no Hollywood glitz, not a lot of people. They were dressed in pants, and Fisk's dog Five was the only person who saw them. It was plain and easy, just like their love. They didn't even know if their marriage would last at the time. They put $30 into a bank account because that's how much a divorce costs. They could have grown apart, but instead they worked together for more than 50 years. Spacek once said that death was the only thing that could ever divide them. Their love was very connected to the work they did together. Fisk was more than just her husband. He was also an important part of making many of her movies. He made the worlds that Carrie sees. Violets Are Blue, 1986, Ragged Man, 1981, and Ragged Man, 1976. It was said that they worked together so much that it might put stress on their marriage. However, they were not married on set. They were co-workers who were concentrating on the task at hand. They were strong because of the balance. Their artistic impact went beyond their lives. Skylar and Madison also did the things that made them artistic. Skylar was born in 1982 and has since become an actress and a singer. She became an artist after being born in 1988. Spacek said that Fisk taught her what it means to really work hard at being an artist. Spacek made a choice in the early 1980s that shocked many people in Hollywood. She was at the top of her game. Her and Fisk's new home is on a 210-acre horse farm close to Charlottesville, Virginia. Even though Spacek, who won an Oscar, did something risky, it was exactly what she wanted to do. She didn't want her girls to grow up in the sun of Hollywood. She wanted them to play in the grass without shoes, climb trees, and have a childhood without anyone knowing about their fame. The farm was more than just a place to live. It was a spot where they could live honestly and simply. The land itself had history on it. There are rolling pastures, wooded trails, and a place where Robert E. Lee's soldiers camped during the Civil War. Spacek felt better when she heard the sound of nature than when she heard clapping. Living on a farm gave her something that not many Star Wars stars had: normalcy. She got up early, ran 4 miles through the country, and then sat on their porch with a Fisk and coffee. She turned down big parts, even ones that were meant to be sweet, so she could stay home with her kids. There were calls from the business world, but she never let them take her away from what was most important. She became friends with some farmers in the area. She took care of fields and horses. She stayed one of the most respected actors of her time through it all. But Spacek didn't just choose to live far away from Hollywood because of family. It was about being honest. She thought that if you only lived like a movie star, you would never know anything else. That wasn't what she wanted. A lot of people want to do the same things in life, like wait in line at the grocery store and drive their kids to school. That choice made her what she is today as an actor. It added depth to her acts and made her seem more real. She won an Academy Award for her part as Loretta Lynn in Coal Miner's Daughter in 1980. What made the performance so memorable was her own connection to a normal life. Hollywood never forgot about her, even when she was far away. The writing never stopped. She kept getting parts. She showed that being successful didn't mean always being under the pressure of the business. She made her own rules for her life and found a way to balance art, love, and family that very few artists ever do. She still lives on that farm in Virginia after all these years. It's her safe place, where she stays rooted like an old oak tree that stays strong through all 4 seasons.